Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jackie and this is Jacqueismaking, a place where I talk all about the knit garments, accessories, and sometimes quilts that I am making. And today I'm back with a huge podcast episode, tons and tons of updates for you all. I was getting this video ready and I couldn't even believe how much making I've gotten done in the past 2 weeks. So I'm really excited to jump into it with you all. I have a finished object. I have, I think, 3 or 4 knit whips, and then I have a really fun quilting whip to show you as well. And then I have a couple of big yarn acquisitions that I got to make a couple of more fun projects in my plans. Before we jump in today, I did want to thank today's sponsor, Trainwell. If you're not familiar, Trainwell is an app you can have on your phone. It's like a fitness app, but it's a personalized personal trainer just for you, and they set up workouts according to what your goals are. So I've actually really been loving this because if you guys are like me, and you love crafting and you love knitting, if it were up to me, I would just sit and knit all the time in all of my free time. And so I really have to force myself to get up and move my body. So a goal for myself in 2025 was just to start a plan or set some parameters for myself so that I could just, stay moving while also crafting, to have that nice balance in my life. So I'm so excited that I've been able to partner with Trainwell because it's personalized to exactly what you are looking for. So what I've liked about it so far, I've been doing it for a month now. I'm on the first week of my second month. And how it works is you set up a video call with a trainer and you go through all of the things that you want to achieve or accomplish. So what I love is I'm talking with her on this app throughout the week. The app shows my workouts, it plays a video, shows me exactly what to do. The workouts that I have right now are about 30 minutes a piece, and it syncs really well with my Apple Watch. So much so that actually if I'm doing a lift and I say I go too high, personal trainer through my watch says, oh, that was too high, and readjusts me, which is so cool. That's such cool technology. So it's been something I've loved because of the personalization to me. We've started out pretty basic. Each week we've built a little bit more. I've just started increasing some of my weights. And so I love that personalization, but I also love I have someone holding me accountable who I can chat and check in with. I can ask her to adjust certain things in my workout plan if I need certain movements that feel uncomfortable to me or are too easy for me. And so I'm really excited to share with you all that I have a 14-day free trial for you if you click the link down below. And I'm especially excited if any of you choose to do it with me because I've had such a good experience. I would love to do it with one of you. So if any of you choose to click that link below and to get started with me, please let me know. I would love to join us in a group chat or something together to just cheer each other on. I know it can be super hard to want to move our bodies, especially in this really, really cold weather. So let me know if you do sign up. That link will be pinned in a comment down below and also in the description box. Thank you again to Trainwell. So now to get started today, we can jump right in with what I am wearing. This is the Road Sweater by Ozetta, and it is officially a finished object. This is a sweater that I knit up in 29 days, so it was a pretty quick and fast make, and it's really my first sweater of 2025, and I'm so excited to get the year started with this sweater. I selected this sweater because I had a friend, Hannah, who was making it, and when she showed me the pattern, I just love those project photos. I loved like the oversized look and the kind of mock neck. And you guys know I also love this like 2x2 rib. And I knew that it would be something warm and fun to knit on in the winter. So I went on and selected it. And I selected Cascade 20 to use with it because I had never used Cascade 20 before. In the knitting world, you hear all about Cascade 220 and how much of like a workhorse yarn it is, just in that it's just a very good go-to wool to use. And so yeah, I was excited to try it. When I was selecting colors, I bought it through Jimmy Bean's Wool, and it was fun to look at all the colors kind of with my autumn palette I have, and I really wanted to find something in this teal shade in my autumn palette just to see like how I liked how it looked on me. And I'm really pleased with this color that I selected, Silver Spruce Heather. It has a really gorgeous heather to it. It does have a little bit of those like silvery flakes throughout, but yeah, it's just like a very beautiful, I would say like toned down teal. Some standouts for this sweater are that it does have that mock neck, and then it also has those pearl ridges on the back that kind of go all the way to your drop shoulders. And I told you I did knit this in 29 days. I feel like it was fairly quick. I was working on other stuff in that time period. So if you're looking for something that would be a little bit more of a quicker make, maybe this would be one to try. I will say, looking at the project photos, it very clearly has 10 inches of positive ease on her, on Haley Smedley of Ozetta, but she's wearing a size small and it has that 10 inches of positive ease. So I'm guessing Haley is really like an extra small to a small, pretty petite. And it says in the pattern that as the sizes go up, the positive ease goes down. So I knit a size large, and I do feel like I am on gauge, but I do feel like it's a little less positive ease than I was hoping for. You know, it's one of those things with knitting where you see a pattern and you see the model and you're just like, oh yeah, like I want to look like that. I want my sweater that I make to look exactly like that on me, when it's not always realistic that our bodies don't, look exactly like the model in most cases. And so that was like a little bit for me. I tried this on when I finished it and I was like, oh, like it looks good, but it was very much so, oh, this doesn't have near as much positive ease. Like it doesn't flow off of my body like it flows off her body. So that's always a hard thing. Whether you're shopping or you're knitting, it's always going to be a thing. So yeah, that was something with this. Perhaps if I were to knit it again, I would go a size up for just a little bit more positive ease. I loved that hers had that true oversized look. And I do feel like when I'm wearing this, like this feels to me like a more classic fit in its more just like structured sort of way. Let's see what else about this. I don't think, as it stands right now, I probably wouldn't knit the pattern again. I may look for a different mock neck to try, just because I don't love the fit. And then also I would definitely use the yarn again. So yeah, that is this sweater. I find myself enjoying to wear it, but it's not one of those where I put on and can't stop thinking about it all day. I'm so excited. Can't wait to wear it again. That sort of thing. I need like a scale of like where I'm going to rank my things. But yeah, I did have an outfit I wore earlier in the week where I wore this and then a cream colored pair of work pants. And I really loved that. I felt like that was a very classic and beautiful outfit for the winter. So I'm excited to do that pairing again. And this color, I can't wait to knit with this color again. I'm liking the way that it looks on me, and it's beautiful. It doesn't feel like too loud of a color, but it feels like an exciting color to wear still. So yeah, and then lastly, I do feel like the neck on this pattern perhaps has issues. And why I say that is because my friend Hannah, who knit it, had a huge ordeal with the neck. She ended up reknitting it like 4 times, going down multiple needles, trying different bind offs. Like it was a whole thing. And I ended up keeping mine. I did mine to the exact length And I did the recommended, you actually go from 2x2, like so you're doing a 2x2 rib, you rearrange your stitches into a 1x1, and then you do an Italian bind off with setup rows. So I did exactly to pattern the recommended inches and the recommended bind off, and I just find it sits a little funny. It's actually interesting because after I first blocked it, I felt like it was sitting up higher, and now as I've worn the sweater, I think this is maybe my 4th time, I can see it sitting down lower. And at first, I kept pulling this because I wanted it to sit a little bit more out or flared out. Not flared out, but just not like, sometimes it has a tendency to like fold a little bit and have this little bit of a crease the first time I wore it. Now, when I tried it on today, I didn't feel like that was the case, but I do feel as though it's sitting down lower. So it's just something for you all to note. I'm going to pay more attention to that if I'm selecting another mock neck pattern, just really how it's sitting on the model, but then also how it's sitting within the project pages on Ravelry or in tags or wherever I'm looking, because I am noticing as I look through those project pages, a lot of times, you know, the neck does come down lower for people and sit lower. So yeah, it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just not necessarily my favorite. Like, I do wish maybe this came up and sat tall a little bit more. Not really sure. It's one of those things, it's where you're like, I don't really know why I'm not obsessed with it. I just know I'm not obsessed with it, you know? But yeah, that is the Rhodes sweater. And I'm very excited that it's my first sweater to go into 2025 with. Now for you all, I have some very fun whips. And the first one I'm gonna showcase for you all is the Berlin scarf. And with this, I'm knitting it out of this Lang cloud yarn, which is truly like a cloud. It feels like a stuffy you just wanna hug every time you work with it. And I've gotten pretty far with it. So much so, for this scarf, I'm using 3 balls of this Lang cloud. And I have just now started the 3rd ball. And how you work this pattern is first you do a provisional cast on, and then you get right into the round to working on this scarf. But why you do that is because eventually you're gonna pick back up that provisional cast on to have these sort of fringes going on. So what I did is I had that provisional cast on, I knit through 1 ball, then I knit through the whole 2nd ball. And once I finished the 2nd ball, I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm at a good stopping point to go back, do some fringes on this one. Then I'm going to weigh the ball, figure out how much yarn the fringes took, and then I'm gonna knit as long as I need before I do the end fringes. And I also felt like this was going to like break up the scarf a little bit because I've been in the round for so very long. And so I just did a couple of the fringes, as you can see here. What's really interesting about these fringes, and just really quick, you can also see how the rest of it is just on a little bit of waste yarn here. But what's interesting about these fringes is if you've watched any other podcasts on this, this is definitely the one thing that people are complaining about over and over again with this pattern is how annoying it is to knit these fringes. And when I was looking at the pattern, I was like, yeah, like, okay, it's probably annoying, but like, you know, how bad can it be? And once I started doing it and I read the pattern, because initially I thought it was going to be just like I-cords, right? And then as I read it, I realized that it's actually double knitting, which is interesting. And I think the most annoying part is you have to do some decreases in the beginning and then you work into double knitting. So I'm sorry, the whole time you're double knitting, but you're starting out with more stitches at the top and then you're going down and you're having to remember like each row has like different ones to slip and knit and which ones to decrease on. So it's one of those things where I wish I could just like quick memorize it and do them all, which I probably will do after I've done a couple. But it's one of those things where like, oh, I have to like sit here and read every line for these fringes. It just kind of feels like a lot. And you do them for like, they're pretty long. And so it takes a little bit longer than you're thinking. And I've only got 2 done. And look at how wide this is. This is probably going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I had to guess, it's probably 10 across. If I had to guess. Not really sure if that's going to be completely accurate. But yeah, that is where I'm at so far. It's still so cold here in Wisconsin. Actually, on Monday, it was like the wind chill was like -25 and they still had school open, which was crazy. But it's been one of those weeks where I've been like, dang it, like I wish I would have spent a little bit more time on this and had it finished because it would have been so perfect to wear. At my work, I work in one building, but we have a couple of nicer cafeterias in different buildings than mine. I work on like a campus. And so I always like bundle up to take my little walk if I want to go get lunch. And I just a couple times this week I've been like, oh man, I really wish I had my Berlin scarf. So yeah, you can see this thing is wide. Like, look at this, right? So it just feels like a big giant hug. And I think I saw another video talking about how nice this cloud is too after it's blocked, that it softens up even more. So yeah, it's a little cold right now. So this feels really good. But yeah, that is the current plan for this. The other interesting thing with this is just like how long it takes to get a repeat in this yarn. It's just so colorful. That's all I can say about it. Right now, this current one, I am using color 1, and it goes from like, I would say warmer shades into like a little bit of a cooler motif in the middle, and then back to some of those warms. It's just beautiful to look at. It really is. And I'm happy that I selected it. I think you guys may have heard in other podcast episodes, I was feeling a little bit iffy. I was kind of like, oh man, like did I make a wrong choice? Because this pattern does have a recommended like fluffy yarn in it. And so I didn't know if I was making the right choice because it is a little bit more of an open gauge. And I can say now, like, now that it's getting big, I think it's so beautiful and I really love it. So I'm excited to wear it. And, you know, I feel like I should make this a priority this week. At least to, like, get these fringes done, get back in the round, get back starting. It's still cold here and it would be so nice. So that's the Berlin scarf. And next I have for you a fun update. Let's talk all about the Norma sweater. So if you all have been watching my podcast, you've probably heard me talk about how my friends and I are doing a Norma knit along. And it's fun because we all have pretty different yarns that we've all selected. And I can't wait to showcase for you all a photo of us all wearing our Normas in different weights, in different gauges, in different colors, because I think it's just gonna be really cool to see them all together. But this is a project that's been surprising me as something I'm really enjoying the fabric and the sweater feel of, but also surprising me that the pattern is a little bit throwing me for a loop. And so to start with the yarn, so beautiful. I am using Kelborn Woolens. This was yarn that they had gifted to me, and I just couldn't be more pleased to be working with it. Ever since I've been feeling this combination together, I already can't wait to purchase and support and use them more because I'm really that impressed with it. So what I've been using is Cricket, which is a 100% sport weight merino of theirs, and it has this like tweed element to it. And I'm holding it with their brand new mohair, which is also so beautiful and comes packaged so cute. I've actually never had mohair packaged in this sort of way, so that's been fun to try it in this new sort of shape. And this is called harmony. And of course, I'll have all the colors and everything listed for you all. So to begin with this project, you start with the turtleneck. And this was my first time doing an Italian cast on. I had heard from people that it was daunting, and it's not as much daunting to do the actual cast on. Just find a YouTube video and do it. It'll completely walk you through and it'll be fine. I found that the harder part, like doing those next setup rows and slipping and knitting, was a little bit harder to get into some of those tight stitches. But once I got through it, I do think it looks really beautiful. I can't say enough good things about how this yarn is feeling. I feel like the sweater is just gonna be so flowy and beautiful, and I'm really liking these fun colors that I selected. It feels just like something that's very me and fun while also being a little bit of like a classic motif. So I'm thrilled about that. The pattern it's just been interesting. And like I said, I'm doing this with my friends. So we have this like group chat going. And what's interesting about it is the pattern like is just very wordy. So in places, for instance, say when you're doing short rows, when you get to one side in a typical pattern, it might say knit back to beginning of round. And you just know when it says knit back to beginning of round, that what that's gonna include is doing your double stitch for your short row. It's gonna include slipping markers and that sort of thing. And in this pattern, it like names every single thing into like a giant paragraph when all you're doing is just knitting back to the beginning of round. And there are so many instances of that. Like once you're doing the color work, you know, in my mind, I would just say, do increases on the raglan stitches every other row in pattern. Or you would have a chart that would just very easily break that down. Instead, it just says every single step you're going to do, including slipping markers. And oh my goodness gracious, it's hard. So what I can say as it stands right now, just finished my short rows, which you're doing short rows and then you're doing wider short rows. Interesting, I haven't done that before. What I can say is I'm loving this yarn. I'm loving this yarn combination at this needle size, how you're going a little bit of a bigger needle size. It's creating this like flowy and gorgeous fabric. I really can already say I feel like I can already recommend it. But the pattern, I don't know if I can fully recommend it yet because of some of the like headaches I've had with it, or just like my desire to rewrite it. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could just, I wish I could like recreate a chart and rewrite it and put it on Ravelry for you all, but that would be giving away the pattern, so can't do that. But yeah, that is the Norma. I am trying to finish out a couple of these other whips before I really dive deep into the Norma, but it's just so fun. It's so beautiful and so colorful, so we'll see if I can stay away from it. I need to like keep it at arm's length. Next I have for you, let's talk about a test knit that I'm a part of, actually. So this is a brand new test knit for Knit California. Leslie created this pattern for a fingering weight tank top, and I remember seeing it during last summer. She had knit it in another teal color, and it was just beautiful on her. And what I loved is she was trying to recreate a different like sort of racer back tank that she wore all the time. I think she said it was like one of her Old Navy tanks. The brand doesn't super matter because there are a ton of these tank tops on the market, and I personally love to wear these tank tops underneath sweaters, underneath t-shirts, whenever I need a sort of like camisole under anything. And so when I saw her making it and how beautiful she was doing the different touches, I knew it was going to want to be a test knit that I wanted to do with her. Also because I loved doing the California sweater test knit with her as well. I feel like I'm one of those people right now, like I never do test knits unless it's for Leslie, because it's fun to support another YouTuber. I'm really liking a lot of the designs that she's putting out, and it's fun to see her process, and she's just like shaping into a well-rounded designer. So congrats, Leslie, on another test run of your pattern. I think this one is beautiful. But for this is the Palm Springs tank, and it's recommended to use a 3.5 millimeter needle in a fingering weight yarn. And so I've selected Knitting for Olive's Merino. This is my first time using the Knitting for Olive Merino, and it is delicious in the best way. So soft. And I actually, for my swatch, went down a needle size because I typically have a little bit more of a looser gauge than Leslie. However, this one measured out to where I actually should go back down and should use her recommended needle size. So I finished this, blocked it out, and then I just recently cast on the tank top here. So how this works out is, first I'm going to be knitting a sort of like back panel, and I'm knitting to a certain length, and then I believe I'm going to be doing a little bit of shaping perhaps before I pick up on the other side. But this is a tank top that is knit top down. So yeah, I've just started here. You can see I have these little baby rows. Like I've said earlier, I'm trying to maybe get a couple of other of my whips as my main focus right now, but this is one too. I would like to just like steadily be working on it. I don't really have a purse project right now, so I think this is one I perhaps will put in my bag and we'll start working on lunches at work. I'm really trying to do that again with like the healthy like mindset thing. Mental health for me during winter is huge. I really have to take time to care for myself. And a couple times this week already, I've worked through my lunches and I've told myself, Jackie, we can't do this anymore. I have to take my lunch, either take a book or take my knitting, this is it. I'm allowed to eat with a friend at work, or I really want, if possible, to just bring my knitting or bring a book and take some time for myself during the day, not just like take time at the end of the day. So I'm gonna try to bring this with and finish this back panel as well this week. But yeah, I'm excited about this color. This is the color Trench Coat, and I did bring my little autumn color swatch with me as well, and I was looking at what tans would look good with my skin tone. My goal for this tank top is not so much to wear it alone, but to have it be just a nice knit piece to wear under like a denim jacket or a cardigan, or under anything really. But I'm foreseeing it a little bit more as an undergarment than something I'm wearing as a standalone piece, unless you know, I really have something that looks good with in the summer. But yeah, this is one you definitely like would need to be pretty tan with to wear it as a standalone piece. But as I'm picturing it right now in my mind, I have, you know, some cardigans planned, and the idea would be like to have my cardigan kind of open and be able to showcase this beautiful tank top. I also was just really inspired to make a tank top because of AKA Nora Knits. She had a video where she showcased her like most worn knits of last year, and she talked a ton about the Sailor Swift tank by Veronica Lindbergh. So when I went to Wool & Co. and was shopping for yarn, I actually bought this yarn thinking it was going to be for the Sailor Swift tank. But once I saw Leslie put out that test knit, I was like, you know what, this would be a perfect swap. I can still use my exact yarn I bought. The yardage was perfect. So it was a great swap for me. But what I loved about Nora's video is how she talked about, like, you know, wool is kind of a naturally cleaning fiber, so it was a tank top that she could wear underneath her sweaters multiple days in a row, and she felt like its elasticity and everything, like it held up well, it still smelled well, and she used the Knitting for Olive Merino as well. So yeah, she really knitfluenced me to make this, so thank you, Nora. Okay, and then last today for knit whips, I have the beautiful Tulip Loop Vest by Other Loops. And this was really like my primary whip once I got this Rhodes sweater off the needles. So I feel like I have been like chugging away on this, and I don't know if it really reflects in the size just because of the cabling and everything, and how long it's taking me to knit, just with the nature of it being flat, that it necessarily reflects how much time I feel like I've put into it. But yeah, here is my vest. So what you're seeing here is this is the back panel, and then I've picked up on the right hand side, and I've actually completed the front panel here. So this vest will actually be kind of sitting more like this, and it's going to be a V-neck vest, and the V-neck goes fairly low. And on this front panel, I thought it was interesting that you do short rows on the outer side of it. I've done, let's see, 2 other vests before, and I have never, and I've done 2 where you're just picking up the fronts perhaps before you do the sleeves, and I've never done where you do short rows on this outer portion. So that was new to me. It was pretty quick and painless, but it was just a new technique. And then I'm doing increases kind of maybe like in the middle here, or just not at the collar. I would say typically when I'm picking up, I'm doing increases more like at the collar. So that's been a little bit interesting, just like construction wise as well. But yeah, not a ton to say about this one besides the fact that it's a little bit of a slower project. I've already picked up for that left-hand side, and oh, this is perfect. You can actually see where I'm doing these short rows here, how it's kind of a little bit going out into a triangle. So I think I'm either finished or almost complete with these short rows here, and then I'll get back into the motif. If I haven't mentioned it on podcast before, I do think that this pattern is a little funny how it describes its cables and really how it describes everything. What it reminds me of is when you simplify something in a language that's familiar to you, or like how you like to learn or how you like to speak. And what I mean by that is, say you're reading like a really hard, like say it's like a scientific instruction manual, and it's all this jargon and it's confusing. And so what you do is you take words you know how to use and you make it in your language, just so that it's easier for you to understand. That's how I feel like this pattern was written. Like for instance, cables are called C1, C2, or C3. And for instance, like a C2 will be like a left-leaning cable, and a C3 will be a right-leaning cable. And so instead of saying like which way the cable is or whatever, she's saying that. And there are instances other than the cable example as well. But yeah, it's just interesting to me when designers, like there are actual words for things, like real terms, like actual real knitting terms for things, and designers will choose to like make up a word that they like better for that same thing. It's just a little bit confusing, right? It's not necessarily like something I oppose or something I don't like. It's just I can see where it would trip people up or be a little bit confusing, so it's just something I'm noting. And it always makes me giggle a little bit. So that is everything with my knit whips. Now I have some fun acquisitions to show you. So the first one I'll show you is just some fun yarn I have here. I'll put images up on the screen of all of the yarn I got for this project, as well as a chart that I recolored. And I think what I'll do is I'll maybe just do like a snippet of the chart perhaps, because I can't give you the whole chart recolored because this is a paid for pattern. But this is for the Agnes Kofta, or the Agnes cardigan by, is it A Week with Viola? I had this issue last week as well. I'll put the exact book up on the screen. But this is a beautiful colorwork cardigan that I cannot wait. I can't wait to dive into. I think this is gonna be something I'm gonna cast on immediately once I'm done with the Norma, just so I only have one colorwork at a time. But this was so fun for me to kind of reimagine and think about some colors that I want in my wardrobe and just like reimagine it to just like a cool like Nordic look that I want. And so yeah, I like went into Canva, I like put in a bunch of the colors that I was looking for. I also used my autumn book to kind of select colors that I would like. And really I just wanted something like a little bit more neutral, but with some fun pops. And in my house, like my husband is a big sports fan. And so he really likes our alma mater, Kansas Jayhawks. We also live in a college city where we go to Wisconsin Badgers games. And we're also Chiefs fans, Kansas City Chiefs fans. All of those incorporate red. And then I also wanted a little bit of blue in there too, so I could wear it for Kansas. But the main call out is kind of this red that is a theme for all of them. And so just like as I'm looking at my wardrobe, I'm like, okay, how can I have something like a cute cardigan to put over like a sports t-shirt? I thought that would be so fun without it being like a dedicated sports thing. And yeah, I'm loving the idea of just like curating some pieces for like, no, I actually love these colors and want this to be a part of my wardrobe, not sports related at all. But then say I need something to wear as an accessory to a sports game. I already have something that like has a couple of those colors that will go with another sports like t-shirt that I have. So that was kind of my thinking there. Also, red is just like a color I'm wanting to incorporate a little bit more, especially this like tomato red. I love this color. I think it's so fun. I actually was thinking about doing something a little bit more corally and more subdued, and I just couldn't get over this like tomato color. I thought it was gorgeous. And actually, fun fact about me, I love tomatoes. My husband always calls me tomato girl because pizza, pasta, lasagna in the summer, just fresh tomatoes with like balsamic, salt and vinegar, olive oil, yum. Love tomatoes. So maybe I just am a little tomato girl and I'll be doing some more red things. But yeah, that is the Roma Garn Fennel, and I can't wait to try color work with this. And then the last yarn that I picked out is this really, really fun clover, sort of Kelly green, that I got to make a Maggie cardigan for the spring. And the one disappointment in this is at Muller Company, they had this in the same section that I got that other Knitting for Olive Merino from. And when I was taking a picture of this, when I got home, I noticed it says on it cotton merino. So I actually messed up. This is cotton merino. I'm trying to decide right now, do I try this out in this cardigan? I mean, I'm holding it with a mohair. Is it gonna be comfortable enough? Is it gonna have the right look and feel? Is it gonna be what I'm looking for? Or should I return this and get the exact merino? You know, it is a short sleeved cardigan. It's something that's gonna be for spring. So maybe this cotton merino would be good. If you've had a good experience with cotton merino, if you've liked the way it's felt on your hands, on your needles, and if you think it would be something that would work out well, let me know, because as it stands, I could definitely just return it for the merino, or I could try this. Maybe this is like God's way of saying, hey, no, I want you to try this. Not really sure. So yeah, this is something that's really fun. Again, so much fun in Wool & Company with my little autumn booklet. I was going around picking exactly which colors would look good. And this color green, I'm so excited. I have green eyes. I think this would just be like so fun in the spring to wear with just like a white t-shirt and or maybe even my tan tank top that I'm making. When I brought this over to my friends, they're like, oh, Jacque, no, because they knew I had overdyed my other green garment that I had made last year, the Lana vest. And they're like, no, remember how you felt about the last green. But I told them that I need a green redemption arc, and maybe perhaps this will be my green redemption arc, and I hope so. So that is all for acquisitions, and now I have a little bit of a quilting update on the quilt that I'm making called the Quilted Snowman. And this is a pattern designed by Holt by Bee in My Bonnet. And I can't say enough good things about this. I have partnered with Fat Quarter Shop to work on this quilt and to kind of showcase it for you all. And I couldn't be more happy to be partnering with them. I love all of their content. I watch their lives. I watch all of their quilting videos. I feel like I learn so much and I take so much inspiration from them. And I also love their online shop. So it's just been like a dream come true for me to get to work with them. But I also love that as I'm working on this with them, the main owner, Kimberly, she's quilting this up, and also Fat Quarter Shop is doing a quilt along with this particular pattern. So I'll put the dates of the quilt along up on the screen for you all. If you're interested and you want to make this with me, I think that would be so fun. Obviously, the quilt along has already gotten started, but you definitely aren't too far behind. This is a year-long quilt along where you can just like quilt, start anywhere you want. This pattern has like so many different parts and pieces that you can really chunk it out in quite a few different ways. But what I love about doing it in a quilt along is there's a couple of fun hashtags you can look at, particularly on Instagram, and just see like the other colors that people are using, or just like what stage they are in their quilt. And you can also see some of the beautiful finished quilts. And every time I look at this finished, I just get more and more excited to work on it. So I'll leave all of that stuff down below in the description box if you're interested in making this with me. But a couple of call outs so far are, let's see, you kind of start this pattern by doing some little sections first. And what I mean by that are, in this pattern, there are what are called like snowflakes kind of surrounding the snowman. And the first one are called snowball blocks. And I've only actually made one of those so far. And this is going to be something that I'm really going to be focusing on over the next couple of weeks, because I have a lot of these little 1.5 inch little pieces cut up to finish all of my snowball blocks, because there are quite a few. When I first got started with this though, I wanted to pick a couple of blocks to like ease me in, ones that made me really excited, and I was a little bit more like familiar with the construction. So I actually did these glitter star blocks, and I have 3 of these. These are so beautiful too. And this is like just such a traditional quilt star sort of motif. So I'm finished with those glitter star blocks. And then last weekend, I also did what are called these whirling snowflake blocks. And these are so fun too. And just, I love Lori's colors. They're so beautiful. I love this one. This one's really pretty. Again, that like tomatoey red. Got some stars on this one. There's a couple of really fun fabrics in here I love. But yeah, those are all of my whirling snow blocks. I think there was 8 total of these. And what's funny is like, you know, these look so small, but look at all these pieces. This is the back here. This definitely took me, definitely like a whole Saturday, half a Sunday to finish just these little 8 blocks. So that was that. And then lastly, for this quilt, I have done his little mittens. So here are his little mittens that I have. We have a right and a left hand. So cutie. And these were fun because these were a little bit bigger. It's kind of hard always working at that smaller gauge. But I think for these next couple of weeks, yeah, I'm going to focus on finishing out those little small snowball blocks, because I feel like what this quilt does really well is give you a lot of those hard pieces at the beginning, like those smaller ones that have a lot of pieces, and you're going to finish those out, and then you're going to move towards building on them, creating some bigger pieces, to eventually where just gets a little bit easier and less cumbersome with little pieces. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna work on those snowball ones, and maybe I'll work on a couple more bigger stars that they have as well. But that's kind of my tentative plan for this week. And I also brought down, Fat Quarter Shop sent me these little tiles. These are called Alpha Bitties, and I absolutely don't want to live my life without these anymore, because if you're a quilter, you know, once you start cutting, like for instance, if you're cutting up these mittens, in the mittens, there are cuts that you do A through M. So you have different pieces and different cuts all the way A through M. And then once you start going through instructions, it'll say something like combine C with L and do them together. And so you'll be looking at your pieces and you're like, okay, which one was C again? Which one was L again? And you're just like guessing, you're kind of guesstimating based on like, okay, that looks like 2 inches. This one looks like 2 by 3 inches. Okay, I think I got the right ones. And what I love about these is it's just like, it's all numbers and letters, and they're just so cute. They're just these little tiles that you can like use your little wonder clips to put on your pieces. And I feel like for me, one of my favorite parts about quilting is that I can be like so chaotic in my personal life, in my work life, whatever. But when it comes to quilting, taking time to be organized, methodical, and slow just like really puts my mind at ease. And so having this extra step to make me feel organized and to make my crafting more seamless, it's just a game changer. So I highly, highly recommend these. These are in Kimberly's colors. So I think these are new. They might have a couple of other colors as well, but I've been really loving these. And then the other thing I've really been loving as well is this like book stand I got that I'm sitting my pattern on. So this right here is like a pattern booklet. It's almost like a cookbook, right? So when I have it sitting open on this book stand, I'm loving that addition to my quilting area. So before, I always just used to have my patterns like open, you know, laying flat. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But in addition to a quilting room, to have like a cookbook stand, have this book stand. And the one I got is this one in Kimberly's color. Oh my goodness, who knew like something that would be functional and just look nice? It just makes me feel organized. I like that my book is sitting up, so it's not down flat where I have all of my pieces and it's not getting in the way. It's kind of standing up and out of the way. Such a simple thing, but it's making a really big difference to me. So I'm loving that. So that is all from me today. I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. I had quite a few things to update you on. And I know I've said in the past that perhaps I was gonna do like a knitting and quilting every other week. I think for right now, my job is busy. As many of you know, I'm building a house. And so need to like kind of get my own house ready for sale. I'm thinking that an every 2 weeks is going to be the most sustainable for me. I'm still deciding if short form content is for me, if perhaps maybe I could do some YouTube shorts in between then. I'm very iffy on the TikTok world right now just because of how up and down it is. I absolutely hate the idea of investing my time into something that could just poof, go away. Like it just feels like all of your hard work is for naught, right? So I think I'm not gonna pass on posting there for the time being. So if you do want to stay up to date with me in between those 2 week periods, best places you'll find me for right now are definitely Instagram And then, yeah, maybe I'll be posting here on YouTube in shorts as well. Otherwise, you can look forward to a podcast from me every 2 weeks. And that way I'll have more done too and more to showcase for you all. I'll be able to take more time on my videos and not be as stressed as I go through work. So yeah, that is everything that I have for you all today. As always, thank you guys so much for being here. This platform has been a gift to me throughout the past year, and it's just been such a joy for me to share in my making. And so thank you all for giving me time and space to do that. As a thank you again to Train Well for sponsoring today's video, seriously, if anyone wants to do it with me, I would love to do it with you. It's so hard for me to get to move my body in the winter, so if that's hard for you too, please join me. Let me know if you do down below. And yeah, other than that, stay warm, stay cozy. Tell me what you're working on, anything you're loving right now, TV shows, yarn, anything. I'd love to hear about it. I hope you all have a great rest of your February, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.